Hello, everyone. I'm Mike Paladino. Uh, Don here
Yeah,
with
I'm
Stout
Don
Tanks.
Marcil. I'm also here. um, I want to thank you guys for joining us for the CBP virtual conference. Definitely want to shout out to White Labs. We appreciate the sponsorship for the third day and hope to be able to share some good information with you here today. I know we've been in the middle of this pandemic, and it's definitely had a huge impact in how we deliver this information. I really wish it could be in person, but this is our next best method here. So a lot of what we're going to go over in getting smart with innovation is we're talking about kind of getting back to the normal of what we had prior to COVID. All indicators are showing that Q3 is looking strong. And as people get vaccinated, more and more breweries are opening. We've seen that ourselves with a lot of great sales in the past 3 months, of which people are targeting that third quarter. So as we go along, Mike and I are going to try and do our best here to give you some insight on what we're seeing and hopefully answer some questions afterwards. So I am a former commercial brewer of about 10 years. I still like to get my boots wet and go out, do training periodically, and enjoy talking the beer. But after about 10 years, it's in my blood and it's going to stay there. So, Mike, maybe a little bit of your background?
Yeah. I've definitely got my boot wet a few times. About 16 years professionally brewing, and mostly in the Portland, Oregon area, Northwest. But it's been really great to take the experience I have of was able to open quite a few breweries along that journey. So then the conversations when I'm talking with brewers about what kind of options and possibilities they have. It's really exciting. I get to take some of the scars that I have on my knuckles and try to avoid having them on brewers' knuckles on the other side, and talking with them about the next step in their journey about what they can do, either a new brewery or sometimes expansion. I think a lot of things Don and I will kind of talk about today with everyone will be something that taking our experience can hopefully let you know that there's a lot of opportunity and possibilities with buildings that may not seem from the first glance like they're the right location. So I think we're going to go into there. I know depending on where you're at, there's quite a few people from all over the place. So I'm sure there's brewers. It's a little early for us, but Don and I are used to doing the old brewer, good go attitude. It's a little early for lunch, but I brought the cooler. I'm gonna see what kind of beers are packed in here today for me. The Little Beast Mango Sour Ale, mostly Karate Chops, double IPA. I think I'm gonna avoid that one until late, at least lunch, and then Samuel Smith's. Maybe this stout will be a good one to share with you guys here for the thing. What do you got, Don?
Oh, I'm taking it a little easier, enjoying the warm weather. I got Occidental's Edelhell, smooth and drinkable, and then a small brewery here out in the Dalles, Freebridge Brewing. They got a amazing Hellas lager there. So,
oh man, those both sound awesome. So cheers to that. Let's get the show on the road. I'm gonna crack open the first one a little early, but we'll go for it. Thanks a lot, everyone, for participating. All right.
All right.
Why don't you go ahead and start off, Don?
Yeah. So, we're talking about buildings that, as we're going about, we have, well over 8,000 breweries in the United States. And that is, still not fully saturated. There's still plenty of room for small neighborhood breweries that are staying underneath the 1,000 barrel threshold. Mostly, a lot of them are staying underneath 700 barrels or so. But you find these neighborhood breweries are going into these buildings, and they're challenged with trying to get the most out of each square foot. Right now, there are a lot of buildings that are starting to open up for people, but as competition starts to arise, there's going to be trying to work your brewery around your building. So some of the things we bring in are the stackable fermenters and brights. Those are very desirable. We get a lot of people that's opened up a whole new realm by taking the cellar space and having it. Having the amount of space that's required for those tanks, and also in some cases just having an easier transfer. I know sometimes people want to do a fermenter on top of a bright, do minimal use of motors and pumps in order to be gentle on the beer. So there's a lot of different reasons to go about doing it that way. But we have those. We have other multi-purpose tanks. Hopbacks, Mike and I are both definitely adamant that they are kind of like a Swiss Army knife for the brewery. They allow you to do a lot of different things. You can use them anything from yeast handling to, when they're properly cleaned, you use them for yeast handling. You can use them for fruit infusions, spice infusions. You can use them as their traditional method of a hopback. But just having those vessels available, those small on wheels, very portable and very capable units are very nice. And then lastly, just talking about bringing the pilot back into the brewery. Some breweries are going to notice that if you can start to experiment a little bit more, you can be part of crafting the direction of new flavors, exciting new flavors, keeping the customers excited about your beer, and also not breaking the bank during the experimentation process.
Exactly.
So.
Yeah, no, I think that, and you hit on all those parts there. I mean, it's really kind of said being really kind of more thinking about using the innovation that you can with the fabricator, and at Stout Tanks, where I think we're very excited to work with small breweries, because it brings on new challenges as to what kind of equipment that we can kind of help you use, and we can innovate and have different designs that you may have not thought of when you first looked at that location. So that's one thing, one of the biggest hurdles I've seen in all my time helping with brewers, either being a brewer or working with brewers now on this side, is the location seems to be the biggest hurdle. So if we can get really smart with how you're designing your brewery, and we can help you innovate some new thoughts that you didn't have there, I think that's what our job is, to kind of get you some information on that. So here's some of the things I think the most popular that we've seen lately are these. Once we started putting pictures of our stackable tanks out there, I don't think, Don, have you had less than 4 or 5 conversations about stackable tanks in a day, or?
I would say, yeah, on a busy day, we could definitely have that many conversations. Typically, you're looking at folks in the 2 to 5 barrel range. We can do them all the way up to 10. Typically, you would probably need some sort of a catwalk or something to easily work on the upper tanks. But when you look at some of these pictures here, like on the left-hand side, I believe that's Simple Days Brewery. We have some stackables, and you look at the size of the fermentation area is relatively small, but now he's taken and doubled his cellar capacity. So definitely managed to get a lot of bang out of that small square footage there. Likewise, you have folks who will go and utilize bright tanks behind the bar, perhaps for serving purposes. And that has always worked out rather nice as well. And then some of our legacy first 3 barrels, I believe that might be Sanford Brewing out of Florida on the far side there. But they've been a very good customer, have come back numerous times, and we're talking about saving space. We're talking about doubling your cellar in the area that you have. It's all that much more important to give the customer as much space as possible. That's where your money making is going to be happening. So getting the brewery into a smaller footprint is always key to making sure that the finances work in your favor. So.
Yeah, I think the one in the middle there, if I remember right, that's Chandler Rail Brewery out of Hoplanta, Georgia, there down there, and I think that's definitely, like you said, putting on that point. The if they can get a couple more bar seats around that bar, another four top or something like that, that is that much more money in the pocket of the brewer or the owner there, being able to produce more beer, better beer. You also can, if you're utilizing that vertical space, you get more in a sense out of your, price per square that you're paying. And so I think that's one thing that can't. I think I can't stress enough is when somebody has that location that they've been, maybe they wish it was bigger. Sometimes if you've got like some taller ceilings, there's a lot of things that you can do. And like, again, like you said, taking some of the innovation and thinking about working it in your favor, when it comes to the fabrication of the equipment. So, all right.
Yeah, and you're starting to take, this idea that you're going to be selling almost everything in house, and when you do that, you have to be profitable at these lower barrelage numbers, so that you're trying to make sure that you can run a business, but still, I'm less than 700 barrels. Maybe I'm even 400 barrels, but I'm still making a good amount of money off of the space that I do have and what I'm doing there. So.
Sure. And that goes for even doing like stackable lager tanks. I know, like you said, if those brewers that want to do lagers and it's tougher for them to try to take up that space, having a something on top, that storage tank on the top or the bottom, that you can have extra storage space, extra fermenting capacity is always key. And I can't tell you how many brewers always say they need more fermenter space. All right. Some of the other things, Don, you want to start off on that? We can help brewers, when they're trying to deal with these spaces, and how we can, help fit these things into their small spaces, maybe.
Yeah. So it's taking the concept of hard piping and perhaps even skid mounting to not necessarily to be just an extravagance or like an extra thing that you would spend your money on for visual appeal, but also realizing that by taking it and hard piping the system, you're going to have a matter of efficiency, easy training, established pathways, less hoses on the floor that you possibly be tripping over, and also, once again, getting into these smaller areas. When we look at these systems, the one on the left is hard piped but not skid mounted. That particular unit, those pieces come in individually, so you can get a hard pipe system in without having a gigantic garage door in order to get through. You would just do the individual vessels, the platform in between, and then configure the hard piping. On the other end, you have a skid mount, which typically will wheel in, and then the stairs that are over there are also going to wheel up and provide you that ability to have your hard piping pre-assembled and ready to go. The advantages of the hard pipe system is that you gain about 8 inches of height because it's a little bit shorter, and also a little bit of cost difference. By not skid mounting, you are going to save maybe a couple $1,000 on there. So, fast, easy setup. A lot of these things, the training, having pre-established pathways. I would say that the sanitation is definitely going to be easier when your pathways are established, and then just having that longevity and having a nice showpiece as well when you do have the occasion of having people come in and see your brewery.
Yeah, right? The workspace is one thing that I think that a lot of brewers don't think of in small spaces. They want to maybe save some money because they have a small footprint, and so they're thinking, hey, I've got to fit this into my budget. I think one of the things that the hard piping that doesn't even get looked at, besides the nice flashy look, and you see some of the things that we have up there about like longevity and everything there, training. The workspace in a small space, hard piping will save you all of that jumping over, like you said, and playing the dancing left-hand green, right-hand blue football player jumping through the little obstacle course of the hoses, when you can just have a small workspace. Maybe you've got 300 square feet, 200 square feet. I would say that's something you want to think about doing hard piping. The cost of maybe the piping is going to be a lot better for that workspace, because now your person does not have to have as much area that they need to work in. Now you can have somebody kegging or yourself kegging right off a fermenter next to you there. If you're bringing in other equipment, and those make those small little areas, I think, a little bit even more workable when you have hard piping. So it does, like you said, the stairs can be movable. These are kind of more traditional side by side. We've also put a lot of these like 3 vessel, almost, we have a hot liquor tank and put them in the middle of in the room. So depending on what kind of layout you have, you don't have to do the necessarily linear. We can do triangular, or even some of the things we'll see here in some of the next slides, some even other options, when it comes to hard piping for you. So I believe that is a 10-barrel hard pipe on the left over there. That is, and then I think that is a 5-barrel skid. I'm not sure, but they are, like I said, they gain the height with the skid on the platform there, or you can have, if you have a lower ceiling, then I would suggest, like Don mentioned, is removing the skid, and then easier to bring in sometimes with 3 pieces. You can move the boil kettle, and then slide your platform, and then move the mesh tun, next to it. And then sometimes receiving that is a little bit easier in a small space too, because Don said not everyone may have the large garage door to bring in the one piece bigger equipment. So, all right. And what's the next one? Would you go ahead, Don?
Yeah. So, okay, this is, I believe this is Heckler Brewing, who I helped out. It's a nice 4-barrel setup. Looks like we did the stackable mash tun over the hot liquor tank, which was pretty common for a long time there. This is indirect fire, but the hot liquor tank is electric, and it's worked out really nice. Danny over there is doing a great job getting the beers out, and these stackable tanks, like I said, they just look nice in a small area. He's capitalizing on that area and still able to maximize the customer space by doing this. So that was huge for his business plan and getting things moving forward. And I was happy to be able to help him out with that. So when we're talking about dual use equipment, on the left-hand side, you're looking at a hop back. Like I said, it can be used. It's a pressurizable vessel. It's able to be sanitary. So when you go about utilizing it, you could use it for a CIP brink. You can use it for a yeast brink. You can use it for infusions of fruit concentrate. I know I use something very similar for back sweetening of cider. So there's a lot of different applications, and it has that handy dandy little handle on the back there, so you can kind of push it around. We also have bright tanks that do similar. It's kind of like taking your bright tank to your fermenter, doing your transfer, and then wheeling it back into a cold room. I don't have a picture on here right now, but the other concept was our kombucha fermenters, the symbiosis fermenters that we have are large square trays. When the very first time I looked at them, I thought to myself, "Oh, this is like an open, almost like a cool ship where you can just bring it out over by perhaps a wild fermentation over by a garage door or something like that if you're in the proper space." But just looking at every piece of equipment on how you can use it and maximize it. It's all about bang for your buck, especially when you're getting started off in a brewery. So thinking about, future growth, you have that ability to perhaps maybe leave a little extra space for some more vessels as you're going along, but just having a good plan from the get-go. And yeah, I don't know. Did I miss anything, Mike?
No, I think you definitely hit it all there. A lot of times somebody will make a look and say, why do I want to do that when I have all this space in a brewery? That's the space you have right now. You know, there's brewers I can think of, and it reminded me when you said open fermentation, and you know, I thought of a brewer, a great brewer out of Yachats, Aaron from Yachats Brewing, who does the open fermentation. And I can tell you, like the breweries, when you first start, and then as you keep adding on as you go, if you can sit there and start and think ahead and plan ahead, and maybe you're putting these stackable tanks here, and you're like, you see open space. So now there's an open event, you know, for open mic night. But then as open mic night, you know, takes away from the next 10 barrel tanks that come in there, you know, and then those things start to move in. So sometimes pre-planning and getting those things ahead of stock, you know, like that, and leaving some open space for that growth. So you can utilize the tall ceilings you have here, and maybe on the other side of the brewery, they're shorter ones that you're planning on the future growth. Those are always something to keep ahead in your mind, is, you know, what's the next step as a brewer. I think being relevant is always something that brewers are, you know, put to the test, right? And having more selection of beer is always one of the things that you can think of. Dual purpose tanks, you know, utilize the space better for the brewer. If you're doing that, your owner likes the fact that you're using dual purpose tanks. So now the extra ingredients that you're throwing into your tanks, into your beers, are, you know, a little bit easier to, you know, convince the ownership maybe to go that route, you know, to make that next challenging, exciting new beer for the brewer. Small tanks like the hopback, like you said, also have like things like small batch things that you can do testing batches with. If they're pressurized, like our hopback visualize right there, you can slap a carb stone on the outside or on one of the ports and carbonate it up, and then you got maybe like a 2.5, 3 barrel little tester that you can throw that coconut porter nitro, you know, and just wheel it right over to a line and serve it straight to the bar and see if it works. If it works on this small scale, then maybe you can then take that up to a larger scale. So taking getting smart and using the dual purpose not only is something that helps with space, but then helps with your budget, so that you can actually put some more quality product out there. Yeah. Let's see. I don't think anything else that I can think of. And then there's, you know, kind of looking at what Don and I love doing, and that's like the innovation of, you know, brewers. That's what's kept us in this industry and loved it for so long. Why don't you start off with this one here, Don?
Yeah. So we ended up bringing on the Pilot Pro as an option, 1 barrel pilot system. It doesn't necessarily mean that that's the best fit for everyone. Sometimes there's a lot of people that I talk to that have one facility already, and sometimes we'll just open a whole nother facility that's an R&D facility. Some cases they're saying that their pilot maybe is 3 barrels or something like that, but they're typically going to be those that have the larger systems, also the larger budgets. But we brought about the Pilot Pro as a nice option for being able to do a lot of recipe and development. Also, in some circumstances, I would say very small tap rooms without food, you may be able to meet the need of the production there. But it comes with some nice features that allow us to just track recipe development and track temperature trends. The software has a lot of capability in there, which is nice, and then also has some remote capability to be able to log in and change parameters too as well. But just keeping it exciting. Your customers are going to expect that. Resting on your laurels, breweries can definitely find themselves not innovating, not creating anything new, and getting old and overlooked very quickly. So one of the reasons when we had our little cheers earlier on is never just drink your own beer. Drink other beers out there. Try other beers for other. You want to keep your palate educated as much as you want to keep your customers' palate educated. Test batching. You want to be able to do something with exciting ingredients, and I just see that constantly. Some of them may be more desirable than others, but at the same time, who knows? You might be on to the next big rage as far as a particular beer style or flavor. Getting out those test batches at an affordable level is key. And then even if you're a larger brewery, I know that all those 2 barrel fermenters Mike had a hand in selling to a larger brewery in California that definitely had their mind on doing some test batching. So, Mike, you want to take it from me?
Oh, yeah. Those, I think if that's the right picture, I believe that was Mr. Beer there, Mr. Ken from Sierra Nevada. Mr. Grossman got those. So it's still something that I think is exciting to hear. It's a good story because even somebody like Ken is still innovating and experimenting, not resting on the laurels of like the great beer that they produce, but being able to take the the innovation and have their brewing staff still be excited, take some of the ideas that maybe they can't start off with the larger systems that they have, to go deep dive into using some of the more experimental style ingredients that some of the brewers are doing these days, and pushing those limits. Having some smaller tanks that you can split off some wort to do in there, that you can either use as a yeast propagating tank if you're using as a one-off tank to just try some experimentation. A lot of these things, I see there was something from an Eric that was asking about how big do the fermenters come with wheels. These right here on most of our, if you're a jacketed fermenter, because of the versatility of our designs, you can unscrew the bottom mounting plates that would go to the leveling footings that would mount to the floor, and you can screw in, we have some very heavy duty casters where you can then move your fermenters around, making them very versatile for the brewer, for the owner. If they need to, as an experimental brewer, say, hey, I don't have the space for something that is, I can't do a pilot brewery. I'm going to try to, say, hey, yeah, we can make that for you. Like that's the reason why our Pilot Pro has wheels on it, casters on there. Quite a bit of our equipment does. I mean, I would be, for safety reasons, when they're full, I would prefer probably using some kind of a, pallet jack to move those things around, myself. But as they are full, we design them so that you can move them with, a couple of people. I would advise, if they are full, when they're empty, those casters, I can slide these 5-barrel tanks around with casters, no problem, easy, get it out of the way, put it over to the side. And now that's out of your way. So a 5-barrel tank might be the biggest size that a brewer has in their, 5-barrel brewery, or it might be the smallest tank that a 20-barrel brewery is using for test batching, and splitting off a 5-barrel tank. So the Pilot Pro, I like that we have the square on there so that you can actually, as maybe a larger brewery, you have some forklifts, you can stick those underneath there. We got some points where you can then lift that up and maybe get that on top of your walk-in cooler. I think smaller locations have become, again, the satellite locations have become, again, something that we see a lot more. The right location, maybe a large brewery, and then even maybe by licensing, need a small brewing location. They can use that as their pilot location now, and have that so that they can have small little breweries throughout. And they can support the larger batches, can send that beer to those small breweries. But again, it's really exciting when you see larger breweries like Sierra Nevada that still are, talking to us and purchasing equipment and doing experimentation with small stuff.
I'm gonna just chime in real quick, Mike, if that's all right.
Yeah.
So on the fermenters, the floor pads do unscrew out. We have capability of adding those casters to 2 to 7 barrel tanks is what we have on those. Yeah. If you were going to add those on, you would want to have quick disconnects for glycol, because you don't want to have slippery glycol all over your floors. It's not as common. Typically, most people will have a lot of infrastructure. They don't necessarily go the route of those wheels. I have had a couple customers that are working in kind of like a shared space, in which case they and it was not as much beer. I think it was kombucha or something like that, where they were utilizing the wheels, wheeling everything out, doing their work, and then wheeling it back afterwards. But yeah, 2 to 7 barrels. We have caster kits that will work for that. So
Yeah.
And if you had something larger and you needed to get past an obstacle, just talk to us. I think we find that every single time that we talk to a customer, we find out that yes, we can, and it's not until you ask as to whether or not you find out that it is something that is capable of being done. So
I'm just thinking of one right now, Don, if I could interject. The Mulberry House, they have some tubes that we put in so they can put their forklifts in there, lift the tanks up, move them around, even put them onto a flatbed cooler or a flatbed truck and bring them even to another location to do packaging. So there's a lot of innovation. If we kind of know what your goals are, then we can kind of find some solutions, I think, to do that for you. And a lot of times it's just asking the questions, and letting us know what you're doing. As experienced brewers, we tend to ask a lot of questions of the people we're talking to and try to find out where they're going. And it's great to, when you have somebody who's just giving you all the information. Hey, this is my short ceilings. This is my skinny doors. I want to wheel this in and out. And just listening to them allows us to find the right solution. So, I think to kind of I think hit a lot on these things already, briefly, maybe kind of understand what we're looking at.
This is more of a recap, just kind of, what are we trying to accomplish? We're trying to make sure that the customer is happy. The customer is the one paying the bills. So, as much as I would love to be brewing all sorts of lagers all the time, I have to realize that, a lot of people are going to be wanting to have the hazy IPA. They're going to be wanting to have the maybe a Belgian style. Who knows? Just knowing your customer base is important. Trying to keep them engaged and excited about your beer releases. Those experimental batches, like we said, are always nice. Innovating the flavors, that comes with a price tag. So utilizing the system in a way that you can not be crippled by that price tag is going to allow you to be more experimentative, have a lot more success with your R&D program. And then reconfiguring batch sizes, I think that is a whole nother thing that you can learn over the course of time. A lot of people are going to try and do their scale ups. That's just something that a whole bunch of brewers math and a whole bunch of experience is going to handle. But having the data be secure and the data be usable from the get-go, getting, sometimes having those advanced controls and having a temperature profile that you can see what you're doing with your recipe are going to allow you to really make sure that you consistently make that beer the same way each time. So
yeah, I mean, there's I think the smaller pilot that you can use and make sure that you're dialing in those things, keeping those numbers for when you're doing some of that experimentation on a small batch allows you to have the courage to kind of maybe go bigger. And then once the experience is there, then I think a lot of times the larger batches tend to be sometimes the touch batches. So cool. Let's see. I think we probably talked people's ears off a little bit. I think there's I see one of the questions in there is working with clients outside of the U.S. I see as one of the questions that was just recently there. We do a lot of work with people. I mean, I've worked with some folks in Japan and Canada quite a bit. Don, you've been down to Mexico to do some training even, and we talk with a lot of brewers all over the place, and it's really fun to hear what the needs are for brewers in different locations outside of the U.S. and inside the U.S. Let's see if there's any others.
We're always looking to add to our relationships and definitely interested in working with people from. I kind of take a personal bit of pride in it to discuss with people their needs for their particular country and hopefully be able to assist them in getting that brew system to make their dreams happen. It's exciting when it's another part of the world and you manage to get your footprint out there and make a relationship and a friendship with people. like I said, Mexico, Bermuda. I have some friends out in Bermuda now. I'm sure out in Australia, South Africa, we got a lot of people we've sold products to, you know. So yeah, trying to add to that list and get the products out there to those who need them. So
Yeah, yeah. I think there's another question here is will we be at CBC? And yeah, we're really looking forward to CBC this year. I mean, I think a lot of our brewers are looking forward to seeing their friends, you know, seeing fellow brewers out at CBC, seeing new brewers that are coming into the industry and kind of welcoming them, as I think is always the proper thing to do if you're a brewer, is to welcome the next brewer coming in and kind of share that knowledge. That's the one part of these, you know, competitions and gatherings with brewers that I just, you know, I think we've all been, you know, searching for these last few months for sure. But yeah, that's some of the next steps for us is going to be CBC. Luckily enough, I'm going to be heading down to Stanford here shortly to go do some brewery training down there. So there's a couple things that people may not know about us. I'm kind of seeing I don't see as many questions in the chat room as I think we've hit most of them, but a couple of things that come up is, you know, do you offer training? And I think, you know, most of the time for our brewers, our systems are designed pretty, you know, pretty smart so that when you're set up, you have most of the pieces that we've worked with you and kind of got all the pieces together. The support is there where we do a lot of this these days with video support for free, just kind of walking people through brewers, teaching them what they want to learn and how to use the equipment. I think learning about the things that we've talked today, Don, I think you put so much into, you know, explaining really good detail about why there's options that brewers need, you know, you know, and it becomes a lot of it is not thinking that you have to be a certain way because there's so many different options that we can do for you. Is there any
correct? Yeah, there's no one way to open a brewery, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, some of the things that you've been talking to brewers a lot lately about the different spaces, you know, here. I mean, what are the bigger challenges that you or questions that have come up?
Well, let's see. I think our customer base is pretty vast, so it could be any number of things. But let's see if I can take maybe some recents that have popped up. You know, customers working within constraints of their building is probably the number one. We're talking about areas that they've, you know, done their research on. They realize there's great foot traffic, but they're trying to maximize it, and that always seems to be number one. That you never have enough space, you know, no matter what you plan for there. So
sure. Well, I see one or two questions real quick. You see, it says early stage planning for a new brewery, 700 square foot for a 10-barrel brewery, 15-foot double doors seem reasonable. You know, 700 square foot for a 10-barrel brewery, it sounds like you probably, if you have tall ceilings, it's a 15-foot double head over doors. That's a lot of possibility right there. I mean, you could still have a pretty decent, you know, fermentation cellar. It sounds like, you know, Tom is asking about that. I think we could fit quite a few different things in there. The smaller the space usually determines, I would say, that you can, one of the things that we kind of quickly have because we're running out of time is the heat source. Depending on the heat source can change what your footprint is in a building. For obvious reasons, fire boxes, a direct fire or indirect fire need to typically be further away from the wall. So now that 700 square feet, if it's direct fire in, I would probably suggest 10 barrels that we could definitely easily do electric to fit in there. So then you have some more space that you can fit your tanks closer maybe to the walls. You can also not have to worry about all the infrastructure of your hood on there, and use some of the overhead instead of, you know, the hood things or a lot of HVAC ducting coming out. Maybe we could still even involve getting an integrated grist case in there. so that you can have some floor space. It'd be some interesting design, but our engineering team is always up for the challenge. How do we contact you for design work? It's pretty, we work pretty quickly out of email or phone calls, but you can hit us up at support@stouttanks.com. If you go to our website, there's usually some links that we have on there to let you know if you want to pick out specific equipment. John and I are both easily available at our main number. That's 503-372-95. Oh shoot, 503-372-9580. And what other things before we go here? Looks like we got about 3 minutes, Don. Yeah. Anything else you want to hit on before we have these last 3 minutes?
Question about raw materials. I'm going to tell you, stainless steel, it's going to last you a lifetime. Chances are stainless steel does not go down in price. It's always something that down the road could possibly go up in price. The one thing that you can rest assured is that, as our company has gone, we've done this for well over 10 years. We've established a good method and a good team in order to get these the stainless tanks to you, and that we're always going to make sure that you're going to get the best deals. So, over the course of time, is stainless going to go up in price? I can almost guarantee it, but that's just because stainless steel, when properly formed, is going to last you a lifetime. So.
Mm-hmm. I didn't use that because I think, for us, our prices have been pretty darn steady for a while. We have a pretty decent stock of in our Portland warehouse of things. So when we're not as affected, I think, as smaller companies that, don't have as much stock for that. Custom tanks will probably be a little bit more affected, but again, our supply that we have of raw materials is a pretty decent one, to say the least. And so the pricing is pretty good, I think, comparatively for at least our future, as Stout Tanks. We love working again with brewers from all over the place. Reach out to us. It's hard to kind of capture everything in a small 45-minute session here with you folks. We really appreciate the folks here for helping us out, and everybody for joining. I don't really have too much more. Is there anything else besides a goodbye cheers there, Don?
There you go. Goodbye cheers. Everyone, thank you for listening. We'll always be available. Please give us a call. We're happy to help you out and guide you to getting a great brew house or any other stainless needs that you happen to have. So do appreciate your time today. And once again, thanks to CBP and our sponsors, White Labs. Thanks for helping to put this on. So. I think I managed to run out of time here.
Cheers. All right. I think that's it there. All right. Cheers, guys.